Hello there, in this video we are going to continue chapter 5 from where we left. So, we have talked about conditional tests, done. We have talked about if statements and if-else statements, that's also done. But in this video we are going to cover these two topics, if-elif-else statements. So, elif is a new word that we haven't talked about yet. And we are going to talk about and not and operators. They are also very useful. We'll talk about them. So before we go to our text editor and start writing some code, let's talk about what is if, elif, and else. What is if, elif, and else? If, elif, and else. Well, elif is actually short for else if. Else if. So elif, in Python we use elif, in other languages we use else if. And if you know what if is and what else is, then elif is going to be very simple. So the idea of if a statement is to make a decision based on a test. We write a test here. If the test passes, we run code. We run code. And if the test fails, else we run the other code. Other code. The idea of elif is, what if I want to make more tests? What if I want to make more tests? Now I can give you several examples. Let's look at giving a grade to a student. So normally when you go to school or college, you don't just have a grade and a fail. No, you don't have that. You don't just make two decisions. You have A, you have B, you have C, and sometimes maybe D, and finally you have F. So someone whose progress was, let's say, more than 95% got A. Someone who got more than 85% got B. Someone who got more than 75% is got C. Someone who got more than 65% got D, and less than 65 they fail. Now elif give you the ability to make as many tests as you want. So I said if, elif, and else. Technically you can have as many elif in the middle as you want. You don't just need one. You can have 0 elifs. That's what we have done, but you can have as many elifs as you want. So we can try this grading example. Let's get to it. So I have actually already created file if-elif-else.py. Let me open it. It's opened. Let's say a student got let's say they got 80 marks, and I'm going to give them a grade based on their marks. If marks are greater than or equal to 95, I can say you got an A grade. Else I can say you failed. Now you see the problem here. Well, the student might be failed, but he might get a B, they might get a C, they might get a D, they might get an F, but we are not talking about the other grades. elif allows us to make decisions based on those. So let's see. Now I can have an elif. Marks are greater than or equal to 85. 85. You got a B grade. Now we can keep on going. Marks greater than or equal to 75. You got a C grade. Finally, let's check for a D. You got a D grade. You failed. Yeah, just in the I'll just say, let's say you just failed. So let's try to run our code. Let's try to run our code. Before we run, what do you think we are gonna get? For 80 marks, well, we're gonna get a C, right? Because to get an A, you have to be more than or equal to 95. To get a B, you have to be more than or equal to 85. For a C, you have to get more than or equal to 75. So 85 is more than or equal to 75. We're gonna get a C. Let's run it. If-elif-else, you got a C grade. Now one part gets a little confusing. We have 80, right? Why did we get a C? Why not D? Because 80 is also greater than or equal to 65. That's, or I can say, well, I can say 95, or I could just say 95. 95 means we get an A, but 95 is also greater than or equal to 85. Shouldn't we also get a B? Or it is also greater than or equal to 75. Shouldn't we get a C? What I mean to say is that all of these checks will be true. All of these checks will be true. Then why just A? Why just A? Why stop here? Well, that's the idea of if, elif, and else. Python checks the condition from top to bottom. So first it will check this condition, then this one, and this one, and this one, and so on. And when the first check passes, let's say the first check passed, 95 is greater than or equal to 95. So we're gonna pass this test. It is not going to check any of them. And we are gonna go to the end of the program. That's the idea of elif. So if we translate to English, it is saying, if we translate it to English, it is saying check this, this, otherwise. So you can say it's like a backup plan. If the first one fails, then try the second one. Try this. And if the second one fails, try this. Try the third one. If the third one fails, try the fourth one, and so on. So Python will not actually check all of the tests. It will check only the one that passes, coming from top to bottom. So that's the idea. That's why we only got an A grade. Now when students are learning if else, if elif, and else, they say, well, the conditions are the same. Can't I move these around? So like this. Well, now you have messed everything up. Let me show you. Let's say student got an 85. Now an 85 should be less than 90. A 90 should be a B grade, right? According to our expectations. Now, as I said, Python will check the test from top to bottom. The first one is gonna fail, right? 90 is not greater than 95. But the second one is gonna pass. 90 is greater than or equal to 65. And we are gonna get a D grade. So the idea is, it doesn't matter if you have written the correct code, you also have to position it correctly. So the code was correct, I just moved the lines around. So when you are making decisions, when you are writing if, else, and elif statements, you need to make sure that you order them in a logical manner that makes sense. So only now it will give me correct result. So let's run it one more time. So 90 should give me a B. I got a B. So this is it for if, elif, and else. I wanted to talk about in and operators, but we don't have time for this video, so in the next video we are gonna talk about in and not in operators. So that's it. Thank you. Bye bye.